afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we discuss current issues that are happening in the country presently. We have quite a number we'd love to discuss before the end of the show, so we would love you to be part of it. Do remember you can join us by Facebook, drop your comment and your views concerning this issue that we will be discussing. And as we are talking presently, already negotiation is going on whether or not how much the new minimum wage is going to be. So we are keeping our fingers crossed to see how much the Minister of Finance is going to project or bring the template to the president, so we could see what will be the new amount, and that will determine whether Labour will want to continue with their strike or not. I am Sada Elisha Dalsham, and of course I will be doing the program alongside Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon,
Afternoon,
Rachel.
Sally.
All right, so we have quite a number we'll love to discuss, and we want to start from Kaduna State, where we will recall that the governor of the state, talking about Sani, has given the directive to the Kaduna State of Assembly to set up a committee to actually probe the former governor's administration, talking about El-Rufai, to see all of the things that have happened. And we are saying that the committee have come up to say that, you know what, there's about 428 billion naira, talking about alleged money laundering. And then we see that the committee are going to check into it, even though El-Rufai have come out to say that he actually served the state with integrity. But I mean, this does not depend on him. But let us see how far the committee can go concerning this. And I remember you said categorically, Richard, is the fact that why do we always have that until a governor or the government is done with its tenure before we have probe? Why was it not being probed while still on seat? Why do we always wait until a particular administration? Of course, we know they do have immunity that protect them from certain scrutiny, certain interrogations. I mean, being summoned by the EFCC, ICPC, and all of that. But here we're saying that, you know what, this present government is trying its best to make sure. Let us see what happened, because we've seen where governors will come up and say, I mean, when I became the governor of this particular state, there was nothing in the treasury whatsoever. I had to start from the scratch. There were a number of contracts that were given that were not being, inspected. There was nothing whatsoever. So they have to go start, covering up certain lapses. And here we're saying that that is the confrontation right now. So it seems as if we're having another case. I mean, we saw that of Rivers State between Wiki and Fubara, and then, I mean, we're saying that those ones seems as if they had a personal fight. But we're saying that Fubara have said, you know what, I'm beginning to have control over my state again. Now here we're having the issue of Kaduna, and people have come out a number of times to, vent their anger, as well as to actually say, you know what, a number of things are not going well, especially when you take a look at the talk of infrastructure, bad roads, and a number of things, especially in the southern Kaduna. It seems as if no development whatsoever have taken place there. And yet here we are having, I mean, El-Rufai was one time FCT minister, and we know the way he worked thoroughly while he was a minister there. And here we're having a probe from the Kaduna State, Assembly, saying, you know what, you've not done what you should be. So already there is an allegation here. So it's depending whether or not he's guilty concerning this. But this is just El-Rufai. Now let's take a look at other states. What is happening there? We know that there are times where we have governors that have served for 8 years, 4 years, and then yet nothing to actually tell that, you know what, there was a governor at a point in time in this particular state, because you say that there's no growth, no development, nothing whatsoever to say that legacy will tell that this particular person was one time the governor of a state.
And the worst part concerning El-Rufai's administration is the fact that certain part of the state did suffer. It was almost like there was no governance for that certain part. And we can clearly say that of southern Kaduna. Even if not for anything, they struggle with insecurity under his administration. Not like it has stopped, but it was almost at its peak. There was no day said that we won't look at the papers or look at we're constantly all about southern Kaduna here. And what was done about them? Nothing much until he left. Nothing significant was done concerning security for that region. So yes, we can say that El-Rufai's governorship tenure in Kaduna didn't leave much of a mark, to be honest. We didn't feel him like how he was felt in the FCT back when he was the minister and all of that. But notwithstanding, the answer to that question, where why do we have them not being probed in the office? So that is our structure. As far as I'm concerned, is our structure, is our system, is how we've made governance to be. Imagine Sele, if the EFCC chairman was not appointed by the president, imagine there's no loyalty whatsoever to any administration but just Nigeria. You grew to the ranks, you find yourself in that position, you are only but answerable to your country. Imagine if INEC chairman was not appointed by the president. There will be no room whatsoever for loyalty. Your loyalty remains to that country. Imagine there are many other key positions, for example, very, very key positions that we are supposed to make them very independent when it comes to money, when it comes to crime, when it comes to investigation, when it comes to money crimes and all of that. Certain offices are supposed to be so independent that there's nobody above them, not even the president, meaning they can carry out personal investigation, secret undercover investigation, come out with their findings. I've seen situations whereby a president or a key political office holder will find themselves in a position of doing something wrong, and in office they get to answer, they get to go to court, they answer to the Senate of their state, of their country, or to the parliament, depending on the system of governance in that country. And whether we like it or not, those countries are, I would like to use the word, light years ahead of us in terms of government, in terms of politics, in terms of economy, in terms of everything. They're like way ahead of us. And then you just realize that there's so much fault in our structure, there's so much fault in our system, that until we have a government that is willing to correct it, we will still remain where we are, because the issue to why it cannot be probed is because we have a loyalty problem. And who appointed it? An EFCC chairman is president that gave him appointment. Chief Judge Ariola is Tinubu that made him, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria. What other positions can we not? The positions that are really to look out for anything that is going wrong. The Accountant General didn't grow there by the ranks, in as much as, yes, by rank he could be there, but he was appointed. So, and we know how accounting is being done. That's where the money gets missing. Your accountant, exactly. So it's the same. I'm starting at the federal level because it's the same replication at the state government level. Every key position is being appointed by the governor. So whether we like it or not, there's a system of loyalty than patriotism. And that is why until the person leaves the office, it is the next government that is not under the influence of the past administration that will be able. We've seen that with our politicians, we've seen that with our presidents. They will tell you to come to their party so that your sins will be forgiven. We've heard this kind of very direct statements in the past.
Sure.
And still yet, when you see how EFCC fight crime, it's selective. Why are we selective of who to fight crimes? There are people who left offices that couldn't account for certain things and couldn't account, but because they are not in so party, they are being fingered out and investigated. Those who have now pledged loyalty to the present administration go scot-free. So we will continue to see things like that. And for what El-Rufai is saying concerning this is just political, this is one of the things we also have with our political leaders, is that once we start questioning them, once someone start questioning their power or authority, or trying to question them after leaving, they call it politics. No, it's not politics. It is a probe. It is expected to be done. Just as you keep saying, there are certain immunities that covers you when you are in office. You should know very well that you are no longer in office. So with politics or no politics, there is a due process that certain things need to be checked. If I come into office as a governor and then I meet that my account is empty, I need to start probing how was your expenditure that you're leaving me to start from the scratch, because now I am in a position where I do not have anything to work with. What happened? And just as we saw, there wasn't much to show for the El-Rufai administration. Not talk more of saying, well, he did a lot of mega projects, so we can see all the money went there. So where did the money go to? And then when eventually discrepancies are being found and seen, okay, there was overpayment, there was certain, there was mismanagement of funds and all of that. The question is, are the papers lying? If they are not lying, why are you calling it political? Why are you calling it a jaundice? Why are you calling it? Nobody's trying to jeopardize you. You're no longer the governor. People are just trying to investigate and see what were funds being used for and cannot be seen. We can't use billions and, okay, where is the road? Where is the bridge? Where is this and that? There's nothing to show for, and there's no money. And so it's just due process. We don't have to always make it look like it's a cat and mouse game all the time when you're being questioned. If there are missing money out there, you need to account for and answer for it eventually. That should be done regardless, but we are always selective, and that's why we remain where we are. We lose money and nobody does anything about it eventually, and we remain where we are. So let them go on with the probe. We'll see what it will be at the end of the day, and then he should be able to answer for it. And what pains me the most is that, do we get to recover back these funds? Because most of the times we don't.
And you know, while I was going through this, I just couldn't help but cast my mind back to that of the Yahya Bello case. I mean, till date, I don't know what's happening about that case. I don't know if they've made it out there. Because we remember there was also an issue of diversion of funds as well, where they said he used certain money that was meant for government projects to pay his kids' school fees and all of that. And we know the back and forth he had with the EFCC running, the governor coming to protect him, the president saying, you know what, if you have nothing to hide, just go answer and all of that. And just like we said, nobody is hunting after anybody. If you know that whatever you did, you are very, very clear of anything, you should make yourself available before the EFCC say, okay, we are giving you proof. Submit yourself and say, you know what, I was the governor and these are the papers. So maybe it should be compared. If there was no any diversion of funds, there was no any money laundering, I think you'll be clear of anything. I think it's high time we stop seeing things from personal attack. But I know it's going to look that way because it will look more like, okay, El-Rufai handed over to sign it, so it looks more like you're trying to bite the finger that fed you and all of that. Most times this is how we run politics in this part of the country, and it's quite sad, Rachel, that sad. I mean, I want to take a certain step, but I'm afraid because actually you were the one who recommended me for a particular position, so I can't do certain things because I'm afraid of hurting you. We need to get above that if really we want to run this country well. Now, still talking about transparency, accountability in every level, we are saying that, I mean, there was a report yesterday that came up concerning the fact that the government will be spending about 5.4 trillion naira by the end of this year to pay for a subsidy. And we know there have been a back and forth whether or not the government is still paying for a subsidy. And then I think El-Rufai was one of those people who said, you know what, we're still paying subsidy. This is the amount that the government is paying. Atiku said the same thing. We also saw where marketers are saying, I mean, the landing cost for petrol is different from what you people were buying it. So eventually something fishy is going on that the government is not making. But we're seeing that the government made it clear. I mean, they made a report this morning and say they saw speculate. I mean, the memo going around, and this does not have the authorization of the federal government because they said that that is still going under investigation that was just submitted to the president. So it's more like a speculation of whether or not they said that is not the document that the public should work with. But for this to make it out, that is to say, there was a report of that nature, that this is what will be speculated. Now, Nigerians have a couple of questions they would like to ask, and I know that is what is on the mind of every Nigerian. Number one, we are supposed to have money that have been saved from fuel subsidy. How much have you saved? I think this is the question Nigerians are asking the federal government. How much have you saved from fuel subsidy over the years? Secondly is the fact that if you are saying the fact that, I mean, you are not paying, or if you are paying, we want to know how comes we're still buying petrol at a particular price we're buying. I think it's the same thing I asked in the morning. Number one, petrol is about, I mean, just recently we saw that the liter is about 750 or so. And we know that for every cost, definitely it will affect transportation. Now, you are supposed to use this money that you save to be able to send palliatives, and a number of people have not seen that money whatsoever. And a number of people have been trying to poke the government. Just tell us what is happening. Do not hide these things, because, I mean, this will actually give room to a lot of worry from Nigerians. This will give room for doubt on the government as well. This will give room for mistrust in every level, because you say one thing and we're seeing another thing playing out. So right now, the question is, Wale Edu should explain further, Attorney General should explain further, and the President, which happens to be the Minister of Petroleum, should ask, because he has other junior ministers that are working with him. I know a number of times people have said, you know what, the President needs to distance himself from being the Minister of Petroleum, but that is where we are right now. That is not the conversation we want to have now. Now the conversation we want is, are we still paying for a subsidy or not? Secondly, if we are not, or if we are, the price of petrol is supposed to indicate all of that. I think this is what Nigerians need. If they have these answers clearly, I think this will remove the doubt in the minds of a number of Nigerians presently.
Sele, nobody deserves to go through what Nigerians are going through in the hands of their leaders and in the hands of their government. We are going through a lot, and then it's really sad. You can't help but personalize it, because nobody deserves deceit, misleading, lies, and lack of transparency like what Nigerians are going through in the hands of their leaders, in the hands of their government, and all of that. Because I keep saying it, certain things are not supposed to be as complicated as what they make it to be, except if you're just more corrupt than the corruption you claim was the problem to fuel subsidy in the first place. Because it's easy and it's direct, because what Wale Edun is saying, and they can debunk it and say it's a rumor and all of that, but the fact that it's actually a paper, it was actually a presentation, and even the minister went on to explain. So you can't come out now and start saying it's a lie. Then why are you explaining what is a lie in the first place? Because he went on saying things like there are certain modalities to put in, such as when you want to take out subsidy removal, when you want to take out subsidy, there are certain factors in place, like how you have to replace your import, your export, and that's why we are trying to move to the CNG, blah, blah, blah. As far as I'm concerned, that's just blabbing and ranting, because you see, that's not what Nigerians want to hear from you. Is why are you lying? We all know, and that was why we questioned the Tinubu's administration from the beginning. Who will say in a speech that fuel subsidy is gone? That's another high level of unintelligence, if there's any word like that, because it doesn't work that way. Because what that action did immediately was scarcity. And we know that by virtue of scarcity comes with price hike.
Sure.
So now, and we've been having series and series of scarcity ever since then. There haven't been a substantial flow of oil ever since then. And now you can't help but wonder, is it scarcity that is making the fuel pump price high, or have you truly removed subsidy? And if you have, why is it that high? Why? I mean, if you have, then why are we now seeing a report saying you would pay? Because there's an analysis that in 2022 it was 2.3. I mean, it was 2 trillion, a little bit above 2 trillion that was paid.
2022. Then 2023
was above
about 3.6 trillion naira.
Exactly. And now the estimate for 2000. Now we need to understand that our currency have changed. You floated it, so yes, it's going to be higher than all of that. What have you saved from subsidy? Because as far as I'm concerned, you are directly, there's no indirect about this thing that is happening now. You're directly telling Nigerians that we have not saved anything, because let's do the math. From June, where the president said subsidy is gone, and we were told by Mele Kyari that we spent 400 billion on a petrol subsidy. And we already started doing the math. Well, if in June we're saving 400 billion, come July it's 800, come August we're looking at 1.2. When you add up this money, up to this period, we are at about the same amount
of money
that is going to be projected for subsidy. So what? Because we have been asking questions concerning what have we been doing with the money that have been saved. You didn't come out to tell us what percentage of subsidy you're taking out, because we would only understand if you are, because when it comes to subsidy, it has never been 100%. The government doesn't pay 100% of a thing. It's in percentage. Is it 80%? Is it 50? This was never made clear to Nigerians. The question is why? And why lying that is gone? Even when marketers kept on talking, even as you mentioned, when El-Rufai talked, what did Menekari say? He kept on assuring Nigerians that nobody is paying subsidy.
So this very moment, that's the assurance coming from
that
federal
was the assurance. And then what was our hope as Nigerians? That, okay, if we are not paying subsidy, we are saving money. So very soon our refineries will be up and running and all of that. Before you talk about subsidy, the first thing you're supposed to do is bring in the CNG. It's not now that you're going to talk about it as the factor affecting it, because it doesn't change anything.
Has nothing to do
we
with
don't
that.
have refineries running. So even when we start using CNG, we will keep importing. We will keep. So what is your reason? What are the bases behind what you're trying to say to Nigerians and all of that? We don't deserve this height of deceit, Sele. We need transparency. I mean, because Nigerians need to know if there's hope at the end of the road. We need to know, okay, how long will it take? Okay, if this fuel subsidy has been removed, how long will it take for the government to save up, to start having our refineries running, and then eventually we will start seeing a fuel pump price that is reasonable to the system. And now this is just this is a blow to Nigerians, because it just tells us that, you know what, we are still where we are yesterday and we haven't really moved forward. And then what is the end? When you as the president will say, well, there's so much corruption in fuel subsidy, it has been going into the pockets of people. Now, where have this one been going to? That is the question. Where have it been going to? Because obviously there's a channel. Where have it been going to? I mean, I hope we get our answers eventually.
You know the thing, the sad reality of the country presently is the fact that we say one thing and then we do another. And believe you me, Richard, there is no smoke without a fire.
Sure.
So in as much as we know, yes, these two documents have been out, and the government is telling us that's not yet been, so it's more like it's not a legal document yet. It was just a memo that was not supposed to leak out. This is what I am understanding, that it was not meant to leak out. It was meant for the president to digest it and then to decide whether or not what is out there.
Indeed.
Now we're having a number of people adding up to the voice of others who have said the fact that Nigerian government is still paying this money.
Yes.
So if we're still paying that, I need to see that the fuel pump price should go back to 100 naira, or 120 or 200 naira, depending on how. In fact, even at 200 naira, it was very high for Nigerians. So I'm hoping, honestly, just like you said, there's a level of deceit that Nigerians cannot take, and Nigerians are extremely intelligent to actually ingest such things like these and not actually question the government. So I hope that the government, I know that till this very moment, the government is refusing to accept.
They will not, because
they are still insisting on the fact that fuel subsidy is gone. But then we are hoping that they will actually come out with a clear document. I believe that the president should be, by now, should have read whatever Wale Edu has given him concerning this, and they should be able to tell Nigerians categorically, this is the reality of things. I mean, there's no shame in going back to say, you know what, the policy we made as of that time, we were very rash and we need to go back on it. There's no shame in that. If that is what the situation is, because we've hit the rock and there's no way we can come out of it. Because already, if we are seeing, even our production has reduced.
Yes, that's gone down.
So what are we saying? Definitely things have to change. So you can come out and let Nigerians know that this is the reality of things. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. And I'm hoping that with that, whether or not, by tomorrow we should be able to come out with what the government would say, as well as what is the new minimum wage. Richard, I am so excited and I'm expecting what it will be. Because this will determine whether or not Nigerians will break or bend at the end of this deliberation. And I hope that they will be sensitive enough to come up with something tangible for the civil servants and Nigerians as well. Thank you, Rachel, for doing this with me. And also thank you to our viewers. Thank you for keeping, the tap with us on this program. We look forward again to doing this tomorrow. Do have a great day ahead.